belong to that company, got the badge to prove it. But this big elephant ran an ERP system for more than 20 years. You recognize that ECC6, with 5,000 users, 1,100 application connections, and a lot of technical debt. It was heavily critical to the business, running our finance, our procurement, our HR services, but very convoluted. So back in 2022, we began a journey. Our CEO, Arun Krishna, made it mission number one for him to really simplify the back office, to make sure that we can prove to our customers we know what we're talking about when it comes to SAP. So we're going to talk about Client Zero. And Client Zero essentially is a success story where we deployed the first and largest RISE implementation globally as a proof point, not only to us, but to SAP and our partner ecosystem and our customers, to show that we know what we're talking about. As with any large implementation, complexity begins on day one. We look at this as an ivory tower, or sometimes we might say as a penthouse. We have the vision at the top. How do we want to be? What kind of agile organization do we want to be? How do you remove all that technical debt of those 1,100 connections to simplify the landscape? We had 500 tools. One of the things we wanted to do is get that down to about 50. So getting that translation of the vision to mission statement down to reality, something that we can execute on, is really the hard work. So over the next 18 months, we took on the RISE offer. We also took on a selective data transition approach, what we call Bluefield or hybrid approach, to really translate our ERP system. Preserve what we've got that really works, but also take on board new capabilities from SAP as well. We were embedded with the S4 journey, but also with BTP. But in order to make sense of this, we really had to do a lot of work on enterprise architecture. That's what we're here, to share some of the lessons learned. It's often the unsung hero in the background, but putting together the process architecture, the data architecture, the technology landscape, underpinned by the overarching business vision, is really something we were keen to do and do quite well. As enterprise architects, we often don't get the limelight as some of our other colleagues, but it's really important to draw that line of sight from the top of the tower to the implementation down below. But this isn't a one-stop shop. We don't just live here on a piece of paper that sort of becomes shelfware. That's the last we wanted to do. We took on the journey with a specific mantra, which was an AI-first mantra. We are an AI company, and SAP is AI-first and suite-first. So there's a lot of synergy in that whole message. But that meant that enterprise architecture had to be dealt with as a living organism, something you can refresh, renew, and improve on as you take insights from the implementation you've done in the field. So that living architecture is really fundamental. And this is something we tell our customers as well, that don't just think of enterprise architecture as a hygiene factor or tick in the box. It's something much more important. Really need architects in your decision-making board all the time. We're going to hear today about data, and a lot of our customers are putting data front and foremost into their strategy. So moving towards a data product organization is another key ambition that we're trying to realize as well. And then all the way through, it's getting those metrics, those KPIs, the data points coming through. So you start to measure, really be quantifiable and objective in terms of our numbers. So moving from the traditional world to the new world of agile-based enterprise architecture is really what we've been able to do through the transformation we did to ourselves. So the flywheel of AI enablement across the organization, underpinned by SAP, was really driven by 4 factors. We take to our customers, we have 5,000 users on the old ECC system, bringing them on board, automating a lot of functions, bringing in AI agents all the way through. We're now beginning that whole journey of transformation, but also optimization through process enablement. And getting that insights through the field around data points that's actually working, and enabling productivity. So all of us who are working in IBM now are equipped with much more simplified tooling. We're able to also maximize the investment that companies putting into the landscape and make use of the innovation that SAP brings to the table as well. The fundamental takeaway here is, think of enterprise architecture as an enabler. Think of it as a catalyst for change. don't think of it as again, back office tool or a capability that we just leave to some of the architects. It is more than that, much more, to get your organization much more agile as you go forward. I talked about flywheel, but we had some benefits. We were operating a hybrid cloud. That meant, yes, there's RISE, yes, there's the underlying hyperscaler. What would that be? That would be IBM Cloud. But also the real benefits of continuous investment. So we were able to make that case. We see agents coming through in front office, we see integration architecture through BTP in the middle office, and the back office through moments that matter for process optimization. And that led to huge benefits. So we now have a significant saving made through the RISE implementation at that time. Getting started is key though. So one of the offers we have is rapid discovery. And what does that mean? It means putting together a sponsorship board through executive alignment, through organizing the vision statements down to process mapping, right down to catalysts, through tools and accelerators. And getting that whole framework in place is essential. When we do rapid discovery in the space of 6 weeks or so, we'll actually make that difference from the get-go. So that as we move that transformation journey into realization, we actually measure the benefits as we go along. Oh, you want to talk about the detail on Cloud Zero?
Yeah, so a lot of you know Deborah, a lot of you know Mihir. Some of you know me, others don't. So I'm Omar Syed. I look after our SAP business here in the UK and Ireland, private consulting. So, whilst we have this wonderful story, it's a business transformation enabled by architectural design and discipline. SAP is at the heart, that's what I call it. And here, so we're the world's largest, or one of the world's largest user of RISE. We've been on the journey with our good friends from SAP, not just for the last 52 years, but specifically with this transformation. And it is, there is an architectural framework that makes the best of what we have, but it is fundamentally underpinned by an SAP framework. So everything we talk to you folks about, clean core, using S4HANA with BTP and being on SaaS, we're not just telling you, we're doing it with you, we're doing it ourselves. And the transformation, the change management has been significant. We, for example, we've taken 18 months to do this. You mentioned earlier about the structure. The transformation scales requires structure. It's been both top down and bottom up. And what do I mean by top down? Normally people say, great, get a CFO on your steering committee. We've actually had our CEO, Arvind Krishna, has actually been sitting on the Green Star, we call the program transformation board steering committee since the beginning. He has mandated that we focus on progress over perfection. So what does that mean? Yes, the journey took 18 months, but we went from using Workday to having many systems across our HR portfolio across the world to SuccessFactors. We did that move in 6 months. We flipped everything to SuccessFactors. Was it perfect? No. Was it good enough for everybody to go and get payroll sorted, compensation, benefits, expenses, etc.? Yes. A few teething problems, but fundamentally allowed us to move forward in a continuous cycle. Now, why was the culture important then? It wasn't just a big implementation. The continuous loop meant we were actually taking the products and design, feeding it back to developers, and they were continuously feeding back whether something worked or not. That then drove productivity drove growth drove investment in talent, investment in innovations. That investment also did acquisitions for us that allowed us to accelerate transformation. So this continuous loop that Mihir talked about was fundamental to how we, as 180,000 IBMers, embraced the change and the challenge that was ahead of us. So what was the outcome? I mean, this is the journey so far. So we set ourselves a goal of meeting $3.5 billion of productivity savings. We actually are now at 4.5. Again, these are all publishable, these are quotable, so I can share this. We have 35,000 workflows we've automated through this. We've got 150 Watson use cases that we are deploying. Every single IBMer interacts with AI every single day. Now, we keep saying AI first. You'll see on this slide, you'll see the ones before and the ones before, etc. What do we mean by that? We started when AI was first being embraced by taking AI capabilities and adapting them to what our processors already were. When generative AI came out about 2 to 3 years ago, we flipped the script completely. And we said, we're actually going to start with AI in mind and design our products and reshape our internal shared service practices to be based on AI. Why? To create better experience for the employees, to reduce the time they spend on lower level tasks, to free them up for higher value tasks, and ultimately from a consulting and technology perspective, to free them up to spend more time with clients like yourselves. So AI first. Not necessarily to replace people, but to make people's lives easier and better. But within that 180,000, specifically, 15,000 people have been trained in generative AI and prompt engineering. Because everyone knows that AI is going to change the world rapidly from a work perspective. But fundamentally, people have to have the right skills to actually enable future roadmap capabilities that we will develop in our companies. So not just everyone's using it, we're targeting 15,000 people who actually become agents of change to be part of the plan.
So the story is not just with us. We've taken this to market. So when we speak to our colleagues at Nestle, we've got some real benefits coming through. We started off using AMS as a launchpad to drive some of the innovations. And we look at some of the AI enablement of processes, taking level 2, level 3, level 4, using the power of Signavio, for example, to identify hotspots in the CPM component business model, and then going after that, putting in value metrics and translating those value pools into actionable insights that we implemented through both a combination of classic automation and AI agents. So this has a real proof point, and we delivered at Nestle. We're on a journey, we're not finished, there's a long way to go, but the evidence is clear. So when you apply enterprise architecture discipline, the methods, the tools, the capabilities that we're talking about through the SAP framework, the tools we bring to our What's Next libraries, suddenly you start to see the power of X taking shape. And that's why enterprise architecture, to me, is a lifeblood, often the invisible backbone of any form of transformation program. Key lessons learned. So, it's obvious, but getting a true North strategy more tangible, locked down in terms of data points is essential. A real clear understanding of the target operating model, based on facts, based on benchmarks, what's the industry trend, but also taking different vantage points, different perspectives in order to shape that operating model. And making it something you can consume, but also an experiential transformation as well. Then adoption is really key. We talked about rapid discovery earlier, but we take that forward straight into implementation. And as we do the implementation, we're always thinking of the end user experience. So what's the productivity gain, but also how does it look like, how does it feel like when you run the end operating model? And then that means you're driving into a talent plan, your culture plan, and enabling innovation from the field into the backlog and driving continuous improvement. One of the things we like to talk about is, using the savings you gain from the productivity benefits to fuel future investment and innovation. And then technology is always evolving. Yes, you have to keep your ear to the ground in the latest and greatest. Take it with a pinch of salt, be skeptical, but obviously apply that when it makes sense to do so. Get some proof points as well, POCs, but let's not get stuck in the POC bandwagon. Turn those POCs into actionable MVPs, and off we go. But along all of this that I talked about, is really being true to form. Make sure you stick with enterprise architecture guardrails, principles, and structures. So you make sure that this journey you're on doesn't deviate from what should be the right thing to do for the organization. And that's it.